Nobody knows that part of the story where these spoiled young rotten kids being treated like royalty.
That is funny that the last time you were flyering was when River Phoenix died.
Today's episode is brought to you by...
Welcome to a brand new...
It used to be, in your era, it was, I call it industry endorsement deal.
Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but for me, the beast doesn't include selling out.
Or street. Talk to you face to face, give you a flyer.
This is the real bass. We got the power of the bass and rhythm that's live in the movements kicking. We got the power of the bass and rhythm. This is the real bass.
That's just how bands usually got picked up.
In circus, we used to pass out balloons. There's a video, this is like a couple hours of video where we're passing out balloons on
Exactly.
Sunset. Come on!
They're able to talk to people face to face. Make sense?
Oh yeah, the physical connection.
Street is the physical connection, and then of course industry because you have financial backing.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
And then eventually a label will go, oh my god, you have both.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
And because a label, their job is they give you a loan, and you have a contract to do these things.
Oh, I like mine.
Like a bank. Before I continue, let's bring on today's sponsor. No thanks to you. Yep, no thanks to you. We don't get any fucking hype, anything that really matters. And
It's just confrontational, and it's a lot like Henry Rollins, where he's like 15 years past the whole thing about the metalers. Before it was hippies, it was called surfer. And there was a surfer thing where it was like, if you were from the inland, like I'm from San Gabriel Valley, and so many bands, how many times have we seen, they weren't ready for the big fight. They go in there, and they think they're going to kill it because they're all excited. They do a couple of lines of crank or whatever, you know, they get all chemically motivated, and they're not any good. And then there's nobody that shows up.
I mean, come on!
90% of the bands, like Motley Crue, come from Covina. You're not from North Hollywood, Santa Monica.
Really?
For example, when I was a kid, you could point your ear to the wind in the mid-'70s on the weekend. In any direction, you could hear a band playing because of the price per watt. People were able to afford PA systems that they could do big backyard parties. And later on, I did the same thing in the early to mid-'80s. I had like 500, 600 kids in my backyard pumping out 2 kegs. Sheriff would come and break it up 3 or 4 times until they started passing these NIMBY laws, you know, the not in my backyard thing. That changed the whole landscape. And the whole development of a garage band, it just ended. And that's, for me, that's where my understanding is that what time it took you to develop a band.
That thing you pulled in the calf today was pretty severe.
Yeah, well, the extreme always seems to make an impression.
Noise ordinances in the mid-'80s, it was like 85 to 86. That's what really killed the whole rock scene. After that, you started seeing a lack of skill set, streaming into the Sunset Strip. You saw a lack of proficiency with one's songwriting and their instrumentation. Nobody understood how to, you know, hold the guitar, but, you know, they could sure go to Hollywood on the weekend and spend the entire weekend copying everybody. So they go back Monday morning or Tuesday and go to the mall and try to find something that looks rock and roll and look the part. But they never did.
well, no. The problem now is that people gotten so fucking lazy, they don't flyer anymore. They fucking rely on Facebook and social media.
Come on!
And it all started in the 90s with a band called Blink-182 because they had industry and street. Their dads ran an import-export business and they owned a skate shop.
I think they played a Bozo show in 93 or 94, to be honest, because I remember a band just like them that went by something like, they were called like Riley High or something.
Who cares? It was also the infancy of the internet, and because of their finances due to the skate shop and their daddy's money, they were able to have a huge internet presence in the early days of the internet. And so social media was basically born through them because they were able to do all three. And then that started an entire domino effect where, yes, you guessed it, internet slowly just took over everything else, where streams become kind of a dead way of promoting.
Get on with it.
Yes! Get on with it!
The last time I flyered was the night that River Phoenix died.
So in 93?
Yeah, I was passing out flyers for circus. They were looking for a singer for like a year and a half. and I went into the Viper room, and I'm passing them out, and remember you don't remember these, they used to have big Samoan bodyguard, and the guy would let me in, but then he'd check his watch, so he'd give me 5 minutes to pass out flyers, and then I'd get kicked out. So I got kicked out the front door, so I'm going up towards AM/PM at the time, towards the whiskey. And by the time I came back down, I noticed these actor kids when I walked out, and when I came back about 10 minutes later, that big Samoan guy was throwing those two out, Rivers Phoenix and Joaquin.
So you were there when River Phoenix died, huh?
Yeah, I was right there when he got thrown out the door. They were kicking him out. They weren't like calling emergency, you know, but when I went further down towards Tower Records, I'm coming back, and then there's an emergency truck there. And that same guy was hauled off. I come back to the pad telling Jimmy, I was like, I saw the guy get thrown out.
That's cooler than my story with Corey Haim, which is I hung out with him a week before he died.
I go into detail, but I'm just basically just trolling Ollie anyway. So, whatever. I say special thanks to the people.
I gotta go on Sub Pals and YT Pals just to try to get 100 views on here because the algorithm could... Soon to both Lost Anarchy magazine and Get Watch Mojo channels. We got some badass graphic novel reviews. And of course, I'd like to make a shout out to our patron, Count Morivon, my homie from the Rainbow. I'm not gonna say what he does, but this guy is badass. Check out his channel. He does a lot of stuff on satanic poetry and other satanic Bible studies. And also a shout out to one of our other newer patrons, Janitor Jay. I've been a fan of his for years and...
Talk about nostalgia, huh?
And of course, shout out to our usual patrons, Ryan Zacher and the Fly Attractor. Later, bitches. Check out our Patreon and linked in the description, as you can tell, and support our cause. We don't get paid for this shit.